welcome to TheoTrade. This is Don Kaufman. February 1st, 2021. 15 minutes left inside of today's trading session with everybody asking the question, is the big squeeze, is it over and done with? Let's get right down to business. Let's discuss silver. Because literally every article that was to be read about finance, you turned on any financial media, pretty much from Friday right until the cash open today, the entire discussion, of course, was here comes the monumental squeeze inside of silver. Couple things that I want to mention about this. Then we're actually going to turn around and we are going to look back at AMC and GME and costs and a few others. But the reason that I wanted to describe a little bit about silver, okay, is quite simply this. Before we start to break it down and look at the chart, and yeah, you know, it did have a substantial move up here, okay? But the first thing that I want to mention is simply this. So there's SLV, and that has been discussed pretty much ad nauseum, right? On all the big chat boards, this was the discussion. We're going to move SLV. Now check this out. If you cruise into thinkorswim, and I'm going to close up the left side bar, and I want you to look at the trade tab here, and I'm actually going to freeze the screen. One of the reasons I did this is when the marketplace is still open, you can actually see volume, of course, moving. Check this out. Inside of SLV, yeah, people pretty much came out of the woodwork today. 3.15 million contracts traded just inside of the silver ETF. It's jaw-droppingly large size. Now, granted, it is a $27 product, but I mean, come on. There's almost 2.5 million calls. And of course, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I got to read some of these boards. And of course, everybody sees the same thing I do. There's 2.5 million calls. Why is it not igniting a short squeeze? For that, okay, I think we should go back over and recognize one simple reality. Well, there's this thing called silver futures. Now, silver futures, they're not for everybody. Why? Because they are a massive contract. By the way, on the silver futures, they actually changed the margin requirement before the bell today. So a silver future, it's a huge contract. You make or lose $25 for like a half a penny move. And the reason that I'm mentioning this, okay, and why am I bringing you up to speed on the silver contract? It's not what we're trying to short squeeze. Yes, but the entire idea is a very simple one in respect to the fact that everybody knew that retail clients were going to try to force shorts, okay? Or that, you know, people are talking about like physical silver versus, you know, what the SLV, which is, again, absolute lunacy and would take months, if not years, to kind of corner that marketplace. But here's the bottom line when it came to shorts, okay? If you were short silver, a major fund, turns out that a lot of these, you know, hedge funds, they can read. So they know that an attempt at a squeeze is coming. So what do? The silver contract opens, of course, on Sunday afternoon, like, well, the rest of the futures contracts, and they cover. And you know what? It did jump, and it jumped by the tune of about $1.50. You can see that gap. So congratulations, it gapped. But at that point, all this is people just unwinding. And I'm going to tell you something right now. It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot of silver contracts to unwind, even if you had monumental size. Because I'll tell you, look at the volume that traded in the silver contract. There's over 300,000 contracts. You recognize this is actually and could be one of the record days ever inside of this product. And most people are like, yeah, but I'm trading the SLV. I get it. But the point that I'm trying to make, okay, is not going to be any short squeeze in here. Now, you can try to push SLV any way you want. But as I said, everybody not only sees it coming, all right, but they're already and have mitigated their exposure. And again, you know, the short squeeze works. And this entire thing we call the big squeeze, it works when you catch somebody off guard. The element of surprise is now gone. You think there's going to be another Melvin Capital out there? Absolutely not. However, with that, Okay, what I did want to cover though in this evening's video is, there's that question, is it completely over? Well, I'll tell you something interesting about that. In GameStop, the liquidity completely collapsed in here today. I mean, when I say the liquidity collapsed, take a look at the number of options that traded. So there's a little bit of a tell here. Only 600,000 options traded in here, and it's down over $100. And look, that's actually half the volume that had traded in here in the previous 5 trading sessions. So one thing you should be aware of, though, Robinhood is going to actually open back up and allow people to then trade this security. So to answer the question, is the big squeeze over? Not entirely. I don't think it's going to happen inside of silver. Of course, silver can continue to get, driven a little bit higher here, but I don't think you're going to see silver at the, the $35 or $50, kind of range. Nevertheless, there could still be some decent size manipulation. I like to call it manipulation, if you will, inside of game, okay? Inside of things like AMC, and AMC has just had a wicked day. I mean, even its volume is down, but here's the irony in a lot of these products. The entire idea of getting together in a chat room, it works, okay? Everybody, colludes together until you start to see some sell-side activity, in which case everybody does a complete and total 180 and a free-for-all in there. I get it. People, again, they try to be, altruistic coming in here, but now it's just raw capitalism. Why? Look at the number of calls trading versus puts. It's identical in here, right? So retail clients apparently have figured out how to actually unwind trades. And again, GME has got more puts trading than calls, which is indicative of people trying to unwind. The one thing I want you to understand about this big squeeze, okay, an anomaly happened, but that exact same situation, that anomaly, it's no more going to surprise anybody. Again, the element of surprise is gone. At this point in time, I warn people, listen, this could actually have unwinding effects, not just on GME, but in the broader marketplace. And that was one of my bigger concerns of why I took such a stand on this past weekend's video is, it's all fun and games when it's GME and, when it's something like silver, but when it starts to impact the S&P futures, okay, then you got a bigger issue inside of the marketplace. Now, again, the exact same forces that drove many of these stocks higher, right? That gamma squeeze, which is, that's a term that eludes a lot of people, but that gamma squeeze can happen in the exact opposite direction. You talk about the big squeeze to the upside. Well, what happens when they start to unwind? Okay, the way the gamma squeeze simply works, right, is that you trade with the dynamic of the market, and the hedging happens with the dynamic of the market. So if the marketplace is down, you have to actually sell stock into it. And market making firms, okay, your Citadels of the world, they don't have to go out there, and there's no hard to borrow for them. All right, they can buy and sell stock. They're actually bona fide hedging activity. You don't have to sit there and say, there's no stock to borrow. Of course there's stock to borrow. They can borrow as much stock as they want. They're bona fide hedgers, right? At least in the market making side of the business. So just be aware, okay, that again, what got us here can unwind us there, right? All right, now for a brief and few moments, we're going to talk about the market as a whole. There's no surprise to see a rip your face off rally kind of in play today. The volume kind of dropped in here, but we got back pretty much what we lost, almost what we lost from, of course, Friday's session. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. There's a few real standouts here, okay? One of the big standouts is, volatility spiked last week. It's contracted minimally here. This, to me, at this point in time, and I'm just going to lay it out there, this is just a rip your face off rally, right? And that's basically what I'm saying, okay? And to put this into a bit more context for those of you that are not exactly like, market geeks, when I'm talking about a rip your face off rally, what that basically signifies, sell side activity, pop to the upside, okay? Possibly more sell side activity. You have to look at this, right? Not as it's a buy the dip. How come the volatility isn't subsiding? You're like, oh man, come on. The VIX is down 10%. The volatility futures dropped. Yeah, if it was just volatility I was looking at, but I'm also looking at the bonds. The bonds have actually rallied. I'm also looking at the dollar. Dollar, people's ripping. Dollar's up huge. Okay? So this looks like a duck and cover trade to me. And that's one thing that I even mentioned on this past weekend's video is you see the dollar up. Does that make you feel warm and fuzzy? Why is everybody running to a currency product right now? Oh, I know. It's the silver trade. The silver's doing it to them. Okay, listen. They're not really coming off volatility much, right? Bonds are on the bid. Not a whole lot, but the bonds are definitely on the bid, which is actually keeping the financials pretty much at bay. Yeah, the financials are up, and they're up to the tune of 1.3%, but that's against the S&Ps, where they're up almost 2%. I mean, today, the entire rally, it's not even seeing a lot of cohesiveness in the marketplace, and 75 products up. But you got some, some products to the downside here. And again, one of the things that was a real standout today is some of the financials. They're not exactly, ripping to the upside. As I said, volatility it's backing down. And I wanted to show you the VVIX, and it's backing down. But this is still a highly, highly guarded situation at this point in time. What rallied today? Handful of products. Your Microsoft, not even so much Apple, okay? Amazon, Google, Tesla. That's it. That is literally what drove this marketplace today. And I got to tell you, all right, with the fact that volatility is hanging out, bonds are elevated, dollars elevated, as I said, I look at this as a sheer rip your face off rally, okay? And we could turn around and start to see some sell side activity again in very, very short order. Thanks, everybody, for joining us here at TheoTrade. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.